Welcome to the Candle Business Coach podcast. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I am the Candle Business Coach. I'm also a mum of three and a kindness advocator. This podcast is all about making and selling candles, business development, and mindset, delivered to you with advice, inspiration, and motivation in a new episode every Friday. This episode is brought to you by the membership for candle makers, the Candle Makers Collective. Becoming a member gives you access to fortnightly online group Q&A coaching sessions to support you, monthly online workshops and trainings to help you grow your business, plus frequent expert guest speakers to inspire and teach you. You'll also have access to an ever-growing resource library with templates, guides, planners, and ebooks. But my favorite aspect of the membership is our exclusive Facebook group for accountability, connection, and support. So if you're looking to take your candle business to the next level and learn more about the membership for candle makers, click the link in the show notes for the Candle Makers Collective. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have another candle maker conversation, this time with the lovely Karen from PinkKatz. Now, Karen she's just an incredible candle maker, an incredible friend. She's one of the members in the Candle Makers Collective, and she is incredible at what she does, and she's got a beautiful journey and a beautiful story that we'll dive into today. So, Karen, would you like to say hello to the listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I wear many hats. So I'm a wife, I'm a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, an aunt, a sister-in-law, and a friend. However, society would probably label me as a fringe dweller and an old lady.
Oh, young at heart, of course. That's beautiful. Now, do you want to tell us how you got started with candle making? Where did it all begin and how long have you been making candles for?
So about 18 months ago, I resigned from my job, my paid employment. I bought a candle making kit because I thought it might be a fun thing to try out. I really loved it. I was hooked. So I thought there's a lot to this. And I kept making candles and I started researching and reading and experimenting, and here we are.
You started off with a kit, which so many candle makers I speak to, they do start off with a kit, and it can go to one of two directions. They can either realize that it is a lot more involved than just pouring wax and fragrance oil in a jar and then just keep it as a hobby, because there is a lot of time and effort and resources, money and everything that goes into making candles. So that can be one direction. They keep it at the hobby stage. Or, as in your case and many other candle makers I've spoken to, they buy a kit, they've realized that they love it, they want to learn more about the craft, the art of it, and then open a business or start a business. So I love that's the direction that you've taken, and that's what's led us to have our conversation tonight. But I want to find out a bit more about your business. So tell us the name of your business and tell us the meaning behind the name.
Well, before I get to the meaning behind the name, I guess with all the candles I was making, I thought I have to start selling so I can make more candles. And you're talking about it being a hobby, and that's how it started. And as we all know, it becomes expensive. So I started selling at markets, which is a whole other journey in itself. When filling out application forms, questions started to veer towards what's your ABN number, your insurance, what's your social media presence. So by design, I basically was evolving from a hobby to a business. Evolved from this old lady who wanted to sell candles at market to actually having to become a business, because then I got the insurance, the social platforms, etc. So the name was easy, and I have read like a lot of people really struggle with getting a business name, but I love cats. Plain and simple, I love cats. They're mysterious, they're elegant, they're sophisticated, they're independent, they're playful, they bring a lot of joy. So cats had to be in it somehow. The colour pink is the colour of unconditional love. So it was just quite easy. Just, okay, here we go, PinkKatz, done.
That's so good. It's so nice that you don't have to spend like weeks and months thinking of a name and letting that part of the business journey hold up the progress of the journey. Like, some of the candle makers I speak to, they get so caught up on every single detail that they can't move forward until they've got everything in place, when really, as you say, it is an evolution. Everything evolves as you go because you're learning as you go along. And so as you're learning new things, you can then implement those new things. But I love PinkKatz. I think that's just a beautiful collision of two things that mean so much to you. And that's what it should be about. And the business name should represent something that makes you feel a certain way. And when you think of your business, you feel positive and you feel excited and you feel joy. And that's something that is so important to have and so important to feel. So when thinking about running your business and thinking about how you get everything done in a given, say, week, how do you complete all the tasks that need to be done?
Oh, that's still a work in progress. As initially, as you said before, it started off as a hobby. So I realised now it's becoming a business per se. My mindset had to change. I had to look at it completely differently. I now have to look at productivity. I have to look at time management. I have to look at income, expenses, recording, reporting, quality. The list just becomes endless. But I didn't want to lose the creativity. So it is about finding that balance. And I was only thinking yesterday, I'd love to have a business partner, somebody that's purely business, and they could just do all that. And then all I could do is just make candles.
That is the ultimate dream for so many of us, to outsource all the things that don't bring us joy, that we don't want to spend our time learning and doing, and just stay within the creative realm, because that's the most fun. That's what brings us the most joy.
Absolutely. But I've always said, if ever there comes a time when I no longer enjoy making candles, then it's time for me to stop. So it is about getting that balance.
That's such a good point that you bring up. And I think it's so important to have that awareness of when you're not enjoying, and this doesn't apply just to candle making, but anything in life. If you're doing something that doesn't bring you joy anymore, you have to ask yourself, why am I still doing it? Like, what is the purpose? Who am I trying to please? Am I trying to please myself or someone else? Or is it a matter of you've just grown out of that phase and it's time to look for something else, time to look for something new? So yeah, it's so important to love what you do, especially when it is your business, because it does take so much time and effort and energy to run a business. And if you're not enjoying it, you have to wonder why you would keep doing it.
So I'm very aware of becoming overwhelmed, and make sure I don't become overwhelmed with the business side. So completing all the tasks, just getting back to your question, just requires discipline and organisation. So I write down everything that needs to be done rather than thinking about it all the time. It's going around in my mind and nothing gets done. So I actually write it down, have it more concrete so I can look at it, and then break it down into small manageable chunks, and then create a to-do list. And then once that's done, it's sort of fairly easy from there on, because it's basically a copy and paste and an update.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way of doing it, because you have that brain dump, you get everything out of your mind, then you can sort through, what's urgent, what's important, what needs to be done today, what can wait till tomorrow, and juggle everything around until you can satisfy yourself and say, all right, this is my to-do list for today. But how long does that process take you? Is it like half an hour, or is it more or less? Or does it vary depending on how many tasks are on the list?
It does vary. I mean, yes, I'm saying, we need to be organised and you have discipline, but you also have to have that flexibility too, because life happens. But being able to think, well, okay, I know that this has to be done. So, for example, I always make Friday the admin day. So what happens on Friday, I make sure I enter the store, any sales, expenses, contacts, follow-ups, etc. So all that admin stuff, that's Friday. Don't worry about it any other day. Don't think about it. That's just on the Friday to-do list.
That's such a good plan. That way, like you say, if a thought even tries to come into your mind that's admin related, you can either just write it down and park it till Friday, or you can just say, I'm not going to worry about that until Friday, rather than letting those thoughts ruminate and just feel like you're constantly thinking, I've got to do this and that, and I've got to try and juggle everything. you've got a set day for set tasks, and that is such a good tip for those that may struggle with being organized and being productive in that way, is to have set days for certain tasks. So that's great. I'd love to know, what has been your biggest win in your business so far?
I think the biggest win are those, actually, they're the small wins. That's when you get feedback from a customer saying that they really like your candles and they return to buy more.
Yeah.
And whoa, somebody likes what I'm doing, somebody's enjoying what I'm doing. You do your little yay. And it's those little wins that create your big win, that you're actually creating something for somebody else to enjoy.
Oh, it's one of the best feelings that you can get, not just the initial joy of, yes, I've made a sale, or yes, I'm bringing in money for the business if you're, financially guided, but it's more that someone loves something that I've created, and I've created something from all these raw materials, and I've created it with my hands, and I've put it out into the world with all my love and all of my effort, and someone appreciates it and they're willing to pay money for it. And it's all of those small wins that add up to become the business of your dreams, or the business that you're working to become the business of your dreams. So I love that you've answered it that way, and that you've explained it in a way that it's so important to look at the little milestones along the way rather than just focusing on the big ones.
I guess another one, if we wanted to go a little bit bigger, as I said, it is those small wins. But when I approached my local favourite coffee shop and asked them, would they be interested in my candles? And they said yes. So my candles are there. So I'm quite happy about that.
Oh, I love that, because it's like, okay, so talk us through that process. You go to your coffee shop, you're feeling nervous, you want to have your candles stocked there. What gave you the initial push to actually put yourself out of your comfort zone and ask the question about having your candles there?
I guess lots of things. I thought, I have to sell my candles. It has to be more than markets. So you kind of think, okay, what are my options? You've got markets, you've got wholesale, you've got bricks and mortar, you've got online. Online is definitely not for me. It's not where I want to go at the moment. So then it basically comes down to stocking in other bricks and mortar stores that belong to other people, and ways around doing that.
Yes, but tell me, were you nervous when you approached them?
Absolutely. And I specifically chose the coffee shop. So for two reasons. One is because it is my favourite coffee shop. I had experimented with a lot of coffee scents, and there's one that I really like. It just smells like coffee, and true coffee lovers will understand coffee smells. So it kind of went hand in hand. So it's the only coffee scent that I actually have in this store. But also I had gotten to know the owner sort of by just going there, having breakfast, having coffee, etc. And I thought, if she told me no, I could handle it. She's a nice person, so she's going to say no in a nice way. So I can handle rejection if it comes from her.
Yes, it's like a nice way to put yourself out there. And like you say, if you do get the no, it could just be a no, not right now, as opposed to no, I never want the candles in my coffee shop. So it's always important to put yourself out there and to expand your comfort zone, as uncomfortable as that can be. But you can do it gently. You can push the boundaries a little bit. You don't have to do something absolutely extravagant if that doesn't feel right for you. But it's so important to continue to learn, to grow, to develop your personal journey as well as your business as well, because your business is not going to grow if you don't also grow personally. So I love that you did that. And look, you got a yes, you got the success, the outcome that you were hoping for. And definitely that's a win in your business. So yeah, well done. Love that. On the flip side, what were some of the challenges you faced during your candle making journey?
Challenges, always challenges. I guess to start off with, it was the overwhelming information overload. Because I'm a researcher by nature, and once I got hooked, I went down so many rabbit holes looking for information, finding information that was often contradictory. And as I researched, as I said, I went down so many rabbit holes. And then it was like working out what was credible information, because you start to create self-doubt when you have all this information from so-called experts, authors, whatever, wherever the information comes from. And you're thinking, well, okay, this person's saying this person's saying this. The two don't quite gel. So what is the right answer? And then I joined a couple of Facebook groups, which was even worse. The negativity and nastiness that often came from that, the posts that people made when people were asking questions. So then there was more conflicting advice. So I decided to unjoin the Facebook groups, talk to only to my suppliers who've been in the business for years and years. So I'm not going to argue with them, and limit my book collection to what makes sense to me and what works for me, and then block out all the other noise. And that is, sometimes it is still a challenge because you want to find out more, but you think, no, don't go down that rabbit hole, stay focused.
Yes. It takes so much discipline, not only self-awareness to know that you're going down a rabbit hole or that you're in one, but then to pull yourself out or to stop yourself from going down it in the first place. But absolutely speak to your suppliers rather than the generic information that you can find that's often not verified on the internet and in the Facebook groups, because there are so many variables when it comes to candle making. Not everyone's using the same wax or wicks or jars or fragrance oil, and the different combinations that can be created using all the different variables. The only people that are going to truly know how to best use those materials are and should be the people that are supplying them to you. So speak to your suppliers, ask them questions. If they're not giving you the time of day and answering your questions, find new suppliers. There are people out there that are wanting you to make great candles because it helps their business grow too. If you're being successful, it elevates their business as well. Plus, it's nice to have a good relationship with suppliers, especially when it comes to busy times of the year and stock might be low. It's just good to have a good relationship with the people that you're buying your supplies from. So that's definitely, that can definitely be a challenge, that overwhelm of all that information. Did you have any other challenges?
I did. So as I said before, so I had all these candles and I'm thinking, right, okay, what do I need to do with these? So it was tackling the market scene. That was another challenge in itself. How do you do that? Who do you contact? What markets are available? Which markets have people who would like my candles? Which market event organisers would explain the process and be helpful rather than perhaps ones that just will say, yes or no, and then you don't have anything to do with them. So that in itself is a challenge and a bit of a journey. And a lot of it is on me as well. And again, I think it's just the way the world is. I research information, I look for information, whereas I didn't even think to go on Facebook and say, hey, how do you find markets? Because then I would have got a whole lot of answers and a whole lot of information.
Definitely true.
So that was a bit of a challenge in itself because most markets are booked out well in advance. So if you do what I've learned is if you do get a market advertised very close to the time, one, it's either the strategy that particular event organizer uses, or it's a scam, or it's not a good market.
Have you experienced any negativity when it comes to doing markets in terms of the market organisers or just being at the market with customers, or has it been overall more of a positive experience?
Overall, it's positive. I mean, you meet amazing people and chatting to other candle makers, chatting to other people like candle makers and soap makers. We talk about fragrances and, you know what it's like. You just get into the whole candle making stuff. What do you do? I do this. Does this work for you? No, but I tried that. And on it goes. And you have an absolute ball. Probably spend more at the markets sometimes than what you probably thought you should.
Yeah.
The negative side of markets I have found is only, and again, this gets back to event organisers, I think, if they have too many other candle makers there as well. So the good ones will actually limit, and that's perhaps why, you can't get in and they're booked out well in advance. But some markets you go to that just accept everybody. And so you might roll up and then there's half a dozen other candle makers there as well. So it's too overwhelming, too confusing for people. And yes, it is. I mean, we probably all have different candles, but if you've got too much of the same product in a smaller space, it doesn't always work well.
That's right. And it's not only disappointing for the stall holders trying to sell their wares, but for customers, they want variety when they come to a market. Like I know when I go to markets myself, if I see, like 5 or 6 different fruit and vegetable stalls, or if I see half a dozen candle and soap stalls, by the time you've seen the second or third one, you've already made your purchase. And unless you're in the ideal place at the either end of where people are coming into the market, like the customers coming into the market, you could miss out on potentially quite a lot of sales because there's too much competition there. And then you think, well, I'm not going to do markets anymore because there's too many candle makers out there, whereas it might just be that particular market wasn't perhaps organised in the best possible way to allow for that variety for the customers and stall holders.
That's right. And that's where it comes in again. You start talking to other people and looking at what are the better venues, the event organisers it's about developing relationships too, I think, with your event organisers as well. And they get to know you, you get to know them. When there are too many candle stores, for example, a few months ago, I actually heard somebody walk by and went, oh no, not another candle store. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Not another candle store.
Yeah. And it's so disheartening when you hear that because you're standing there, in the beaming sun or in the wind, and you think, I'm just trying to sell my beautiful candles. I don't want people to have that reaction when they walk past because they won't come in, they won't smell the candles, they won't get to know you as a stall holder. It'll just be people walking past and giving you not even a second glance. So, yeah, definitely a point to take away for all the listeners is to do your research when it comes to markets. And if it means turning down a market that has got multiple candle makers there, that's okay. There are other opportunities. You will find other places that you can have your stall rather than casting the net wide and joining every single market that you can, because that can backfire if there are too many of the same stall holders. But it pays to do your research, definitely. So tell me, Karen, what are your goals for your business?
Oh, still defining this one. I'm having to streamline a lot of things because I just went, I still do, and I try not to, this with fragrances, like just to streamline my product line where I want that to be. And I'm getting there, but it's still a work in progress. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, I want to start a candle business. So at this point, I just want to create candles that people will enjoy and slowly build a sustainable business, which I can pass on to my daughter and then maybe my granddaughter. Who knows, can create a dynasty. In for a penny, in for a pound.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. And I know based on like previous conversations that we've had, is that definitely one of your goals is to pass on the business to your daughter and to see it develop and go in whatever direction takes her heart. And to know that you can create something from the ground up for yourself and then pass on that legacy is so inspiring and will definitely keep you motivated when you're having those days where you just don't feel like doing the admin on a Friday, or you don't feel like making candles for whatever reason. But when you've got something that's motivating you in that way, and you've got goals for your future and for your family's future, it definitely helps to get yourself into momentum.
Absolutely.
We touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of how you stay productive. But if we zoom out a little bit and look at your weekly routine, what does that look like as a small business owner?
The week is flexible because life happens, but I do set aside time for what needs to be done. So as I said before, Friday is like my admin day. Monday is like research day, any posts that I might make, reading, tutorials, anything candle, educational, I guess, for want of a better word. I do that. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are creative candle days.
Oh, I love that. They're the best days of the week by far.
And so 4 of those.
That's really good.
And that can be just making candles, but then also, testing, looking at other products that I might want to use, might want to streamline, might want to get rid of, all that kind of thing. So that's the creative candle making process.
And are they full days, like 8-hour days, or are they you sort of come in and out of it depending on what else is happening in your life?
No, I can't. Well, if I'm actually making candles, I will set aside time, but otherwise it'll be in and out. Yeah.
I think that's a good balance. Yeah, balancing the different needs and the different requirements of life. And rather than, being in the candle room for, 8 hours straight, that might sound like a dream to some people, to be able to work that into their lives as their full-time hours or their full-time job and their full-time income. Whereas other candle makers and other people I've spoken to want to have more of a part-time business, or they want to have that life and business balance rather than all in and have nothing else in their world. Like that, like it's actually good to have things outside the candle making world as well. Like you want to spend time with your family, you got to invest in self-care. The washing has to be done. The kitchen doesn't clean itself, all of those things. But knowing that you can set aside dedicated time for your business is really important as well. And when your family can respect that you've got that dedicated time and give you that space, it allows you to really flourish with that creativity. And then when you're done for the day, then you can come back to, the other parts of life and just enjoy that as well. What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Oh, that's the making of the candles.
Yeah.
I still melt my wax with the double boiler method. And it might be slower, but it gives me complete control over the temperature, which I really like. And I just love it when the fragrance is added and then you've got maths and chemistry coming together and creating something really nice. And I always chuckle to myself because maths and chemistry were my worst subjects at school. Well, that was a long time ago, but yeah. And here I am, maths and chemistry in the making, but also creating as well.
So many people I speak to, candle makers, of course. Candle makers are pretty much the only people I speak to outside my family. But pretty much everyone says, look, math and science and all of the brainy subjects, if you will, weren't necessarily our strong point. And yet we know enough to get on with life. But then when it comes to making candles, we're so motivated to learn and figure it out. That's what pushes us into figuring it out, is that we actually want to know the answers about how to make the best candle, the safest candle. And it just happens to be involved with math and science and a bit of chemistry and all the things. So, so yes, I can definitely relate to not enjoying how to do the calculations and to figure all that part of it out. But then once you get it, it's just so satisfying.
Absolutely.
What gives you motivation to keep going when things do get tough?
Oh, that's an easy one. That's being part of the Candle Collective.
Yay! All right, talk to us about that. How does that give you motivation?
Okay, so a great example will be the other day. There was a task that I've been putting off, again, procrastinating. I knew I had to do it. And I've been putting it off, but I also knew there was with the fortnightly meetings that we have, that I would attend because there was no way I wasn't going to attend. So I knew I was going to attend. And I also knew that I would be asked, have you done set tasks?
Yes, correct.
And I didn't want to be able to say no, because then the next question will be, okay, why not? And then now will come all the excuses. And you actually hear them as you're speaking them out loud, you hear all the excuses that you're making and you're justifying why you didn't do something. So I wasn't going to put myself there. So I thought, no, I've got to do this. So it got done. And it's about, also the Candle Collective, it's about knowing that there are a group of like-minded people who understand candle making. They understand the ups, they understand the downs, they understand the frustrations, they understand the joy. And just being able to be there and listen and share their stories. And there's just so much to the Candle Collective.
I love that. Thank you so much for saying those beautiful words and for also just being an incredible member in the group. I've said this before, I'm trying to remember when, it was kind of recently, where the group is the way it is because of the members that are in it. And it's that community mindedness and the open-mindedness and the kind hearts that every member in the group has that has really made what is just such a beautiful space to be in. And one of the questions I asked actually was, this podcast will come out after the Candlemakers Collective members chat podcast. But one of the questions I asked, even to yourself, Karen, in that recording was, should everyone join the Candle Makers Collective? Should every candle maker join? Do you remember what your answer was?
Yeah, I did say no.
And that's right, because we don't want every single candle maker. We want the type of people that are kind-hearted and open-minded and are supportive of others and are just, good-natured people. Now, mind you, that's still the majority of people out there. But when you come across a group that is so special, unique, and rare, it's really got to be protected and nurtured. And I think having you in there, Karen, and the energy that you bring to the group is always so positive and supportive and caring and genuine. And I think it's just such a privilege knowing you and being able to help you on your journey and keep you motivated along the way. So I would love to know, how do you define success, either in candle making or your business or just life in general?
So I guess in life in general, for me, there's always two questions that I ask my grandson, who's 10, turned 10 yesterday. But I say, did you have a good day? And are you happy in your heart? And I think if we can say we've had a good day and we're content and we enjoy what we do, I think that's success.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And happy birthday for yesterday. That's so exciting. The big 10, the big 10. I love that. No, but it's true, because success is not a number. It's not a particular point in the journey. And everyone I've asked that question to has such a genuine response, because they're really thinking about what they think is success, not what they think someone else thinks success is. It's very personal. It's very unique. But we all have this same sense of, am I happy in my heart? Am I happy in my life? Am I being productive and working towards something that gives me motivation and that inspires me? And the truth is, every single person that I've asked that question to, every single person that I've had on the podcast is already successful in their own mind. And yet it's okay to still want more for their journey, because wanting more, knowing that you were made for more, is just all part of our growth. We can't get to a point in our life and go, okay, I've reached success, I'm done, and now I just stop. Because we don't want to stop. We don't want to stop creating our beautiful candles and products. We don't want to stop learning and growing and becoming the next level version of ourselves. It's more about, am I successful today in my heart? And if I am, amazing. And then when I wake up tomorrow, I'll continue to strive for things that bring me joy. And I think the way you've answered it is just beautiful.
Yeah, and we have to have meaning in our life. We have to have purpose. We have to have a reason for getting out of bed every day. So for me, it's like meaning, purpose, and connection. You've got those three things, and however those needs are met, is going to be as individual as the person. But having those needs met and just feeling good, having a good day.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, Karen, we've come to one of my favourite parts of the podcast, where I ask all of my guests 3 questions relating to candles. So the first question is, what is your favourite candle fragrance?
There are so many.
There are. It's such a hard question. It's probably the hardest question I ask everyone.
Also, you asked earlier, what are the challenges? That is one of my challenges. I need to streamline my range and stop buying new fragrances.
Oh.
I was at the suppliers last week and smelling all the fragrances, which is also another thing. Sometimes I find when you need that motivation, if you can, duck down to your supplier and immerse yourself in the smells and what's around, and having a chat to your supplier, and then that brings your mojo back a little bit as well.
Definitely.
So, as I said, I was at my suppliers last week and smelling all the fragrances, because new ones are coming in all the time. But I guess my all-time favourite has to be one that's called 5, which is a perfume dupe of Chanel No. 5, which is the perfume that I wear.
Oh, beautiful.
I love that perfume. So, of course, I love the smell because it's a really good dupe. So that would have to be my favourite. But I also like another one called Blue Agave and Cacao. It's a blend of florals, but it's also got sweet spices in it as well, which sounds a bit of a funny mix, but it smells really nice.
That does sound really good. And you make that as a candle?
I do, and it sells really well. And one of the soap makers that I see at the market, sometimes I was telling her about it and I let her smell my candles, and she really liked it as well. So now she incorporates it in her soaps.
Oh, amazing. Collaboration over competition, always.
That's it.
Now, the next question might be even harder than the first one. What do you love about candles?
The relaxing flicker of the flame, the scents, and just the way candles can influence mood.
Yeah.
They can just change the whole dynamics because, as we know, scents evoke memories as well. And I guess one thing that really stuck with me was the lady, and funnily enough, it was actually the 5 candle. She was smelling it and her face just broke out in this most beautiful smile. And she said, that reminds me of my aunt. And she was telling me her aunt had passed away. And I said, oh, did she wear Chanel number 5? And she said, yes, she did. And so it's those kind of things, your candles can do so much more than just be a piece of home decor or a flickering flame. There's just so much to a candle.
There is. And it's so important to remember that and to acknowledge it as candle makers, is that when we sell our products, when we create our products and for our own benefit, for our friends and family as gifts, or if we sell our products, we're giving them a piece of memory evoking a piece of their memory. You know what I mean? It's coming out all wrong. Or we're giving them an opportunity to create new memories when they light the candle at a dinner party, or they're having a relaxing bubble bath, or they've just cleaned their house, or they just want to relax in their home, rather than, as you say, just a piece of home decor or just a gift that people give without a second thought. There is so much more to these beautiful products and these beautiful candles, and it's important to remember that. And then the third question is, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to other candle makers?
When I saw that question, I started writing down all the things that I wish I'd known. And then I realised it said, one piece of advice.
If you want to give us more, go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
No, because I guess the one piece of advice would be, even though we kind of said no a little bit earlier, but join the Candle Maker Collective. I think because you've got sound advice, you've got resources, you've got mentoring, you chat with positive, like-minded people, you can ask questions in a safe place that are going to be answered, you can have open discussions, and you're connecting with a community. There's just so much. And to me, that would be the one piece of advice. I just wish I'd have known about it when I first started, because it would have saved so much stress.
Oh, that's the thing. Things like the collective will come into your life when they're supposed to. And for anyone that's listening to this podcast that is an avid listener and you listen every Friday when every episode comes out, while Karen's doing her admin, you're listening to the Friday episode, I would, absolutely encourage you to reach out. You can DM me on Instagram at Candle Business Coach, or look at the links in the show notes and just be curious about what the Candle Makers Collective is all about. Because as Karen says, we're a community of like-minded people. And I think when you're surrounded by the right type of people and the right type of support, your potential for growth is unmatched, as opposed to doing it on your own and struggling with your own challenges. When you're able to overcome your own hurdles and then celebrate the wins and workshop the challenges with other people that really understand what you're going through, I think that makes a huge difference. So thank you, Karen, for being such a beautiful advocate of the membership. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful for our conversation tonight. I really feel like we've been able to touch on a few different areas, not only of your business and your journey, but just what the candle making process is like for people that are interested in candle making and also that have been making candles for a little while. So for any of the listeners that would love to get in touch with you, where can we find more about you online? Or would it be best to contact you via email or to go to your website? Where can we find you?
Okay, so I am on Facebook under PinkKatz, but my website has my contact details there.
Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll put your links in the show notes so that people can click through if they want to get in touch with you, if they have any questions, or if they're curious about your favorite candle fragrances and they want to purchase one of your candles, that'll be an option for them as well. So Karen, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being on the podcast tonight and for being just a wonderful person in general. I'm so grateful for you and I'm so excited to hear what the listeners think of our conversation. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend, for listening to this episode. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout the conversation, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're feeling inspired, I would love it if you would write a review for the podcast and give a 5-star rating. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.